I'm gonna wait for some people to join up. Here we go. Golgotha. Waiting for people to join up. Give me a few minutes. Let me see if I could change this mic. Hey, what's up, Spiritual 911? Hey, Felix. You guys can't hear me. Hope you can hear me now. Yeah, you guys can probably hear me now. I'm using the mic from my webcam. What's up, Lady M? Tarot Talks. You guys can hear me clear, right? Afternoon. What's up, Meg? Thanks. I don't know if it's using my mic or my webcam mic, but either way, let me see if I can go to the settings too. Thank you. Yeah, we're gonna be getting into some things today. There's been a reason for delays. I mean, I've been going through a lot of different battles within a lot of things going on in the world, and I think that the other night too, when I was doing a stream, I was like having serious headaches and things going on too. So I didn't want to shortchange you guys and go live when I wasn't fully focused, when I couldn't fully focus because of what was going on with my spirit as well, and I think people realize when we're fighting in our physical lives, I think it's a reflection of what we're doing in our spiritual lives as well. So if you're having troubles with certain things in your physical life, and you're feeling certain emotions and depressions or anxieties, or attacked even in a way, or you're feeling rage or any of that, it's a reflection of what's happening spiritually to you as well, and what you're going through spiritually, and exactly and what's happening in dream time, who you are in spirit, because that is you're catching a glimpse when you go to sleep at night. You're basically dead, right? Your body is basically dead. I mean, your heart's still beating and everything, but like, you're shutting off your physical life. Your physical body is just shutting off, right? So your spirit comes out. Now, from what I understand, we're going to be like I have a lot of things that I want to touch on. Guys, I have all these notes and stuff that I've been working on for my book and everything in front of me too. So there's a lot of things that I wanted to bring up, a lot of stuff I've been writing down and going over. And I'm writing a book on obelisks and other spiritual technology as well. So I have a lot of things. Of course, anybody who wants to support me in the chat room, the live chat, that's great. Also, my website, I'm having deals on crystals, tensor tools, readings, anything. I chose to start doing this as my mission full time and overcome any of the obstacles that's getting in my way of doing this. Because there's a lot right now, and I don't want to give anything too much play, but there's so many forces out there that don't want people like me putting knowledge out there and helping others. And let me first say too that the way we even are progressing in our world, the way technology is going, the way people learn, the way that's going, basically our schools, our technologies, our computers, the way we learn is completely backwards. So it's making us use the powers of our mind in a different way. It does everything for us. and it's not what we're supposed to be doing. We create our own realities, right? And where's wanted to get something too that I wrote down. But we construct our own realities, right? So the way we receive information now is that we just want to learn. We don't want to teach. Oh, thanks for showing love, Meg. Guys, anything helps. I'm also going to be changing my website in the next few days and offering different sorts of readings. Even I might do something where I do 5-minute readings for people for like 10-20 bucks or something like that, and change it. Right now I do like an hour reading for basically like $100, but it's like a life-changing experience as well. It's like a big thing, and it's relatively little price for the psychic reading I do for people. But what I was getting at is that we construct our own realities, and the way we've been learning our knowledge and the way we use our knowledge is very important. Now, the way everybody learns nowadays is they want to just learn information. Not too many people want to teach it anymore. And the way it's being presented to us by machines now. We're learning a lot through machines. The way somebody receives information and the bond between the teacher and student, and how the teacher gives knowledge to the student, and the interaction and relationship with the knowledge and the student, between the student and the teacher, is very, very important. Very, very important. The way the knowledge is given to somebody through a teacher, and the teacher, explains to them the appropriate way to apply this knowledge, and the way, and can share some of the trials and errors or something that the teacher has gone through. That relationship is very important. Most people don't want to teach anymore. They just want to learn the information, and they're eliminating the teacher status, right? So us learning information from just a machine or from a computer or whatever you want to call it, this is eliminating the teacher aspect and that connection. You know what I mean? That very important process of circuitry, from student giving to teacher, teacher giving to student, for life to exist, for a system to exist, a life system to exist, there has to be an exchange of a circuitry, right? A circular motion of different components interacting with each other to keep that system running successfully, right? And this is the teacher, the student. The teacher gives to the student just like the student gives to the teacher in different ways. And it's a process that they're giving to each other. Now, if you're just learning from a machine that's giving you knowledge, you're not giving anything back. You're just taking that knowledge. There's no interaction besides you just getting, and that's what the big problem is. With our world and what's taking place, with people learning information and what's taking place nowadays and the way we receive information. There's something else that I wanted to bring up. That I wrote down before that was important. I don't know what I did with it, but there was like these notes that I wrote about that. I've been just getting downloads of information, even when I research topics. Now, let me first try to explain to you like what I've been through and some of who I am in life, because I think that we all have our own missions that we go through. We all have certain spiritual paths or life lessons to learn and things that we have to go through for certain reasons. But I also think that also some people have certain missions that they do, that is where they get put in a role where it's up to them to choose whether they use this ability that they've been given or this knowledge that they've been given for ways to help the world and others, or ways to just benefit for yourself and let your ego inflate and let your materialism side of you completely get blown out of the waters. And that's what a lot of people sometimes do when they get abilities or when they get knowledge, is that they use it to form contracts, sort of like they sell their soul in a way, and they give it up to they get polarized to the darker, the darker side of things, to the materialism side. And from what I understand about our history is that we got trapped into this lower realm of matter. We're trapped inside a vessel, and it's up to us to figure this out. And the reason why I do so much digging, and it's important that we talk about the ancients, and we receive knowledge from the ancients, and we try to understand what these ancient technologies are that are still left over on our planets, and some of the remnants of the past, because we have to understand the knowledge of some of the first people that were trapped in this matter on this planet. We have to go back as far as we can to try to understand from some of the first people that walked on this planet, that had the original knowledge, the spiritual technology of the past. And this is the ancient Lemurians, the different civilizations such as this, depending on what you want to call them, going back through other mystics, call them Lemuria. And from my information that I've received as well in my life and things that I've learned, I do feel that the Lemurians were one of the first people on this planet, were one of the first in this physical realm, in the realm that we're in now. And this is millions of years ago, possibly, and I'm not good with putting a direct time on it, but I do feel that somewhere around 12 to 13,000 years, according to like some of the flood evidence on our Earth and erosion marks and things like that, that other people that are more knowledgeable to me than in archaeology and geology and all this stuff, they've even confirmed that. Now, I do think there was a time manipulation that took place, though, too. We can get into that in a little while with Jesus as well. I think it might have only been 1,000 years since Jesus, not 2,000 years. I think we might have lost 1,000 years somewhere, or something has been manipulated. But I do feel ancient Lemuria, even other dream seers over time, like Edgar Cayce. These are similar people that have similar abilities to me, that they were at the brink of death. They almost died. They've had head injuries, certain things. What's up, Malik? What's everybody in the chat room? They've had certain head injuries or certain near-death experiences that they came back and their body chemistry has changed. Their consciousness, their brain was changed. It was altered. Even Edgar Cayce talked about these ancient Lemurians and some of the not just the knowledge that they possessed, but some of the spiritual technology that they possessed. And it's important that we try to understand ancient Lemuria and some of the spiritual technology. And I do feel that some things like some of the redwoods on our planet, some of the cedars on our planet, some of the ancient trees of the cedars of Lebanon and Bashan, of these places, they contain the knowledge. They are still remnants of Lemuria. And we have many different remnants on our planet through different realities of this planet as well. We have different realities of our world. As you know, there's a multi-dimensional level here where we have reptilian type creatures or the Naga, or whatever you want to label them, that exist in a slightly different dimension than this one, a reality similar to ours, another layer of this reality. And sometimes these realities blend together, and there are dimensional gateways between these realms. There's all sorts of different realities or subquadrants of realms, if you want to say. And our universe is expanding because of this, because of the different layers of realities that's being added, because of the information and the manifestations and the spirit and all of the technologies that's being manifested on our planet and being used. So it's very important that you guys understand that there's something taking place on our planet that that we can't fully understand, and nobody has it figured out, but I do feel that when well, Jesus, first of all, I do feel is a title. It was a title given to somebody when they reached a certain status. If you look in this book here, this is the book Josephus. He was a Jewish historian basically, and just if you just go into the index and look up Jesus, you'll see there's all different people that were called Jesus around the same time. And this guy was a Jewish historian, well respected. He recorded a lot of things that are right in the Bible. So if you think about it, most likely Jesus was a title given to a high priest or something like this, or some sort of person that was spiritually initiated or spiritually powerful in some sort of way. You have Jesus, the son of Saphias, who was a governor of Tiberias. Jesus, son of Gamaliel, who was a high priest. Jesus, son of Damnius, who was a high priest. Jesus, son of Gamala. Jesus, son of Saphat, ringleader of robbers. Jesus, son of Thebluthus, who was a priest. Jesus, who was another one, or Jason, could be another name for Jason. And then Jesus, son of Ananus. Then you have Jesus Christ. Jesus, an eldest priest of Ananus. Jesus, brother of Onias, who was a high priest. So there's a lot of dudes that were named Jesus. But I do feel the one that was crucified on Golgotha, who many claim is the Son of God. And I do feel that we are all sons of God. And that's what this man meant, that he was the Son of God. Like, he was the son. We're all some. When you reach a certain spiritual enlightenment, you realize that we are all sons of God, right? We are all, anyone with a soul is sons of God. And I think that he achieved a certain spiritual. He was born. I feel that he was prophesied that he was born a special child, a star seed. Maybe to try to help us align our duality, and become to a higher dimension once again. Now, people think sex and duality is about physical sex. That's the way this physical realm and our physical bodies perceives male and female and duality and being. Why so many people are bisexual and confused with sexuality and things like this is because they're confused about the way we perceive duality on our planet. Duality is about achieving harmony between the positive and negative forces on our planet, and our physical body thinks it's just about sex. So when people are trying to achieve a spiritual like I don't know how to say it. When people are trying to look more deeply into themselves and try to understand themselves more, sometimes because of them being corrupted by other people's by their own insecurities, other people's verbal abuse, and other people's things as a child, you start to get confused about that spiritual knowledge that you're obtaining. And when that psychic energy you're accumulating gets bottled up and gets messed with, you become literally schizophrenic, and your personality splits. And that's how transgender starts. Most people that are transgender are highly psychic, and they've built up psychic energy from other people. They've accumulated knowledge and energy from others, and it has made them become their personality split, because they're not releasing that energy in a positive, healing way into others. And I've been getting a lot of messages through dream time, through anytime I pray. And like I said, you could just pray for 2 moments, and while you're praying, or while you're doing some sort of meditation, or whatever you want to call it, your spirit can be accomplishing and traveling eons. Thank you, Jeremiah. Wow, Jeremiah Cohen. Cohen, Cohen. That way is all the Cohen was a name for the priests of Judaism, and even Kabbalah and Jewish. They were called the Cohens, or Cohen. It comes from the term cone. It's very interesting. So even if Cohens are one of those names in Jewish too, that you're not supposed to marry outside of Judaism at all. Like the Cohen line is not supposed to marry anybody that's not Jewish. Used to be anybody that's not a Jewish priest or rabbi, or temple priest. It's a very ancient name. Yeah, I'm born 1978 as well. That's cool. That's a good connection, brother. So now I don't want to go through a whole life story with you guys right now. I mean, but you've heard me share some things that happened to me when I was younger, and I've done some traveling when I was younger. But when I went to California, and I was spiritually led out there. That was when I started my calling. And my family line has these Dream Seers, or Benandanti, if you want to call them, good walkers, who in our DNA somewhere there was a pact made spiritually to fight against some of the elements on our planet that are stopping our spiritual progression, and stopping the collective consciousness from uniting again. And we've been split apart. We've been at war. And I do feel that we are literally sent here from God, all of us, that are battling against these forces. And I know some people that in different religions, they'll think that, if they don't believe this or they don't believe that, then they're not a man of God. I do feel that I am a man of God, and there are certain signs and certain things that I've seen and been through that they don't want me even to leave this country, or travel, or go to any of these sacred sites that I need to go to, I feel. And there's a lot of people out there that I can help find things at certain locations. I've done it before. We have a cognitive blueprint on our planet of some of these sacred areas, and I've been having certain people calling out to me in spirit over my life, and I didn't understand it as a kid. In fact, I ran from it for a while, and I tried to numb it. And I think too, let you guys know that when you have certain experiences, even like when people feel like they've been abducted from aliens, or other beings, or these beings will not take anybody that have harmful chemicals in their body. And I think subconsciously I knew this when I was younger. And if you have things like chemical drugs, hardcore chemical drugs in your body, it's hard for you to transition through realms and spiritual things like this. It does something to your neuron. I don't know if it's neurons. It does something to your brain chemistry, your higher dimensional brain. All right. It does something to your higher dimensional brain that stops that ability or numbs that ability, or at least makes it a little bit more lethargic. It's harder to achieve that state. And so that's something that you guys need to know. The minute I cleansed my body and was completely free of anything, where maybe I just was smoking weed, or that was it, and not even a lot, just once in, like just a little bit. Uh, as soon as that happened, because during my early 20s and teenage years, I really went off the chart for a while and went crazy and did a lot of crazy stuff, and a lot of my friends died. From overdoses. People in my band died from overdoses. I started Muay Thai to cleanse my body. I ended up having 2 pro fights and doing some amateur fights, and took a Muay Thai camp in Thailand. After I went there from California, I went out there, and so once I got to California, I was completely clean from everything, and I like just spiritually left New York. I used to be held to New York because that's where I got all my shit. That's where I had to be. I couldn't leave New York because that's where I knew how to get everything. Once I got completely just broke free and said F you to it all, and I got in a bus and went to California, and I totally cleansed myself. I was totally just walking and moving through my spirit. Uh, the other worlds just opened up around me, and I started having spiritual experiences and opening up gateways at certain spots. And I even had the spirit of a guy that killed himself in my community where I'm from in New York follow me out there, but I think it was actually a disembodied spirit of one of these ancient giants that has imprinted or trapped that his energy, or knew can sort of like photocopy somebody's life, or entrap their energy somehow and torment them and use them. And I think that that's what we see as ghosts or disembodied spirits, is actually a past race that is more spiritually powerful than we are, that can entrap spirit energy and imprint the life of people and replicate it and use it to manipulate people they knew, loved ones, certain spots associated with them. This is something that needs to be looked at further. That I know, and I've been getting, as soon as I started experiencing all this, is when certain things happened to me, where I was abducted by, first I was arrested by the police, and they handed me over to like the Navy or something. I was hit over the head by the Long Beach Police Department. I had to see I had to see the hospital right from the Long Beach, where I was inside the tank when I was beat up by the cop. I was fighting with another inmate first, and then the cop came and hit me over the head, dragged me into my cell, and then I remember talking to the nurse, saying that I was going to be transported to Twin Towers, which is LA County Jail. And they were forcing me to sign, basically, that I fell, that I hit my head. And I'm like, yo, I'm pretty sure the cop came and hit me from behind. There's no way I didn't fall. So I was so just nervous and groggy, and just wanted to get out of there and get it all over with, that I just signed the papers. And I think they were actually telling me I was going to go home at first. And then they told me they were transporting me. When I left the hospital, they were telling me I was transporting, they were going to transport me to the county jail. And then they put me on a bus. And I remember being all groggy on the bus. And there was, a gate between me, and then there was like adolescent girls in jumpsuits in the front. And I figured I was going to the county jail, and I was on the back of the bus being transported separate. The next thing I remember, because I must have fell asleep on the bus, I was underground, and there was a whole bunch of things going on with military there, and they were trying to take my blood, and my blood was coagulating in the vial, and I was trying to fight them off. And while I was fighting them off, my blood was angry as well, like in the vial, like it wouldn't, like it was fighting too. It was weird. I don't know if it was just my grogginess from either being drugged or hit over the head that was making me see that, or if it was actually part of what experiment that was going on. But after I had basically stepped into like another layer of the reality at the Cesar Chavez Park on the 33rd parallel of Long Beach. Then I had like some guy come like offer me a contract for my soul that was like a demon inside of a bum's old body. The next day, I was seeing spirits of people that I grew up with, and my dead grandmother's perfume, and all of these. I saw like a feline being in a window, all in like a 2 week period. And then right after all this happened, like literally the day after this all happened and stopped, this I was abducted and taken by the police, and all of it. So there was something in my blood from all those experiences that I feel they wanted. And when this happened, they took my birth certificate, my social security card, all of that was taken from me. So I don't have that anymore. I do have my driver's license from New York, but that's because I didn't have it on me out there. When I went out there, I brought my something told me to go get my. It was weird because I told my mom I was going to um the store, like 7-Eleven or something, and I actually went and took a bus to California because I just needed to get away from everything. And I knew if I would have told my mom I was going out there out of nowhere, they wouldn't have wanted me to go. They would try to talk me out of it. So I had already prearranged that I was going to do this like the day before, and I had my birth certificate and my social security card in my book bag. And I literally left for California. In 2002, it was winter in New York. I walked to 7-Eleven with just my book bag on my back, the clothes I was wearing, and just a book of my book bag. And I went out there. I had $50 left on me after I bought the bus ticket, and I ended up staying out there 2 years. I got a job. I had a place I was living, everything out there. But um, it was just like a spiritual mission because I was hearing like a drum beat calling me, like it was, it was that's my Benandanti calling, and I was born with the call around me, the umbilical cord around my neck, and this is a sign in ancient Benandanti lineage like mine that you're going to be uh, some sort of dream seer or prophet, or the like we call Benandanti, or a good walker. And it's up to you whether you end up on the Malandante or Benandante side, whether you use this curse or blessing, however you want to look at it, for whatever way, and it could be a blessing and a curse, but I've been given certain visions and certain insight, and sometimes my interpretation might not be right, but the knowledge you're seeing is from source. It's from different realities and different experiences that's on our planet, and different visions to help you try to figure out and help the future, and use it to try to help our state that we're in. And I do feel when the people, the one that they call Jesus from the Bible, when he was killed, when he was uh, put on that cross, at least, and his soul plunged into the deep sleep, something took place that his blood actually dripped down onto the Ark of the Covenant. And I've had this man, Ron Wyatt, basically coming to me in my dreams, in my visions, talking to me lately. He died a while back now, probably in 99 or something like that. But I do feel this man was right about a lot of things when it comes to the Ark of the Covenant. I didn't research all the other things he was supposedly found. He said he knew where the real Mount Sinai was, that it wasn't where the Mount Sinai they call now was actually in Saudi Arabia, I think, or something like that. And a lot of his stuff does line up, but I've looked into his Ark of the Covenant stuff. And from the information I'm receiving, a lot of what he's saying is right. Um, in fact, the spot I do feel that Jesus was crucified on is Golgotha, is the hill that looks like a skull. And if you see, like, if you look into Golgotha basically, it means skull place, and it's near the city of Jerusalem. Now, I think that Jesus Christ was impaled right there with the spear, and that underneath the hill there was a small cave or whatever that the Ark of the Covenant was in. He was literally crucified, hanging above the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant was underneath the ground there. And that when he died on the cross, they said there was an earthquake that split the earth. And when his blood dripped down from being impaled, when the blood and the water dripped down and fell through the crack on the earth, it literally fell into the ark, onto the Ark of the Covenant. And supposedly Ron Wyatt scraped the blood that he found because he was digging in Jerusalem on this hill of Golgotha, which I think is where the Garden Tomb is. They call the Garden Tomb of Jerusalem. Now, what I've received about this is that this is this could be an ancient giant head, actually, some kind of mud fossil, or at least it was carved or something to be like an ancient race. And this was the spot of crucifixions. This was the spot that people were stoned at. There was only one spot they did this in Jerusalem, and this was like the place. This is where if somebody was going to get crucified, they did it at this one hill. They did it at this. Somebody was going to get stoned, they did it at this one hill. So this was the spot where I do feel that the Ark of the Covenant still is underneath the ground there, and that there's a wall that needs to be brought down, and this is when certain people are going to get their hands on it. Now, when Jesus died, this is something that I really want to get into for a moment, because I think that a lot of us that are ancient souls on our planet, and there's several of us, maybe 100, 1,000 or more of us that are on this planet, that are warriors, that are spiritual warriors. Some of us still asleep, still with amnesia. And I do feel that some sort of, if you want it for lack of a better word, a blood computer, a spiritual technology that is mixed with that is mixed with this, can control this physical dimension and its inhabitants. If the inhabitants' blood and species of the blood is brought into it, I'm sorry about my language, but is that the blood on this planet, if it's given to this technology, it can tap into it, it can control it even. And if you think about what life is, and if you think about what cybernetics is, it's about the interaction and control between machines and people, or animals, machines and animals. That's cybernetics. And this is, I think, an ancient force that we've completely don't even know the reality of it. But what I do want to think and mention is this, and I've literally seen visions of this, and I feel I am a part of this, and my spirit came into this realm back when this happened as well, is that when Jesus died on the cross, and the Ark of the Covenant was beneath there, and his blood went into the Ark of the Covenant, they say there was an earthquake that split the earth, right? But that's not all that they say in the Bible. They talk about how literal people rose from the dead. Spirits rose from the dead, right? Spirits rose from the dead. And there was all sorts of saints that appeared in, I got to look up where it is in Revelation. But there was all sorts of saints that appeared in the town. People started to see saints, people that were shaman and holy warriors were brought alive. Their souls and were seen, their spirits were seen walking through the town. I know it's I think it's not the God. What is it? I think it's in Matthew. Yeah, I think it's when Judgment Day, When our Lord died, the earth quaked, the temple curtain and the rocks were rent, and many bodies of the saints that had slept arose, coming out of their tombs after his resurrection, came into the holy city and appeared to many. Matthew 27:52 through 53. This is not something that's a lie. This is something that I feel like I took place in. That many of these saints that arose were a lot of us. They were a lot of us ancient ones, and our spirits have been incarnating over and over again since then, until this end battle, until we figure this out and either get consumed by this future computer mind that's taking over our race. If you want to call it the devil, that's fine. If you want to call it Set, that's fine as well. But, or we use our spiritual forces and spiritual technology of the ancients to make us one again and make us leave these physical vessels, trapped in these physical vessels. Now, I've been writing a book about obelisks, and I have a lot of information that I've been going on. I mean, when I finally get the money to get this book made, it's going to be mind-blowing. But I have so much that I need to share with you guys. So, like I said, we can, I could do this every day as long as you guys are helping and pitching in, because if you are benefiting from my videos, then you should give back as well and support me in the chat room, because it's hard to be giving out all this information and all this time I put into it for free. You know what I mean? So I'm spending a lot of time and energy into this. So if anybody can ever help out, $2, $3 in the chat room, that's definitely the place to do it here. Or if you want to buy something from a spiritual tool, you know, and give back some energy while you get a lot of energy and have an exchange. I have my website that has spiritual weapons, spiritual tools, crystals, tensor tools. I do psychic readings. I have a lot of free information on my website as well. Old radio shows, articles I've written, media, all sorts of things out there. So understand, guys, when we look into ancient Egypt and to the ancient cultures, it's very important because they possess some of the spiritual technology of the first people that came into this physical realm. And now Pharaoh, the name Pharaoh, let's first talk about this. You know, because I've done my own translation to what Pharaoh is. And what information I've received of what a pharaoh is. Now, pharaoh, first of all, is a sort of label or title that's given to somebody, to a king of Egypt, right? An ancient king of rulers, right? And if you think about what archon means, it also means ruler. Somebody that's controlling or ruling over somebody else. But it's supposedly this term pharaoh, this title, it's derived from an ancient Egyptian word that means great house. Now, from my download and from my interaction with if you want to say the Akashic records, what I do feel pharaoh actually translate to, and I've wrote several translations down. What's up, Davy Jones? I've wrote several translations down to go along with it, and thank you, Felix. Now, pharaoh, from what I understand, it means many, many things. But it basically, instead of being translated to great house, I was told in my spirit that it should actually be translated to more like palace of the eternal. Now, or the palace of always, or the castle of eternity, or something like this, the castle, the never-ending castle. So great house actually should be translated to the palace of always. All right, the palace that never ends. So pharaoh to me literally means a vessel, a soul that's jumping vessels and ruling. So they are body jumpers, soul jumpers, pharaohs. All right, they're translating them, their incarnations, their souls from one great king body to the next great king body, from one great house to the next great house. They are literally time jumpers, soul jumpers, body jumpers in the palace of always. And I do feel that the Donald Trump is possibly, when you become the president, of the United States, which is almost like you're president of part of the planet, it's possible that he is a soul jumper, like Thoth, and Set, and a lot of these ancient ones. They are not one person; they are an energy that has been replicated and is now jumping bodies. So a lot of these energies have been imprinted and replicated, and they do not have a true soul. They can only take over bodies, and they can never die. Okay? They can never die because they are an imprint of something. Now, our regular souls, we don't die, but we ascend higher. We ascend higher and to a higher existence when we're no longer here on this physical physical realm. We are pure energy. Now, many of us that have these fragments of that pure energy on our planet, I feel, chose to come here to battle this. And the reason why you're so conflicted is because you're not fulfilling your mission, and that's what we're dealing with here. I was shown, and I've talked about it going back 4 or 5 years. You can, some of my oldest YouTube posts, when I first started to choose to come into the public after my mom died. I because she never wanted me to talk about any of this stuff or my experiences or any of this stuff or my visions, because I used to talk to her all the time privately about all this, and she thought they would lock me away if I started talking about all this stuff. And it's fine if some people think it's crazy, but when I first started to come public about my life and who I am and my experiences, I was getting visions long before a lot of other people have talked about it, about giants in some sort of suspended animation. And, I've talked about it before. Now, I saw these gray looking giants in a crystal fortress. And I felt like we were beneath the earth or on some sort of moon or some sort of thing where there was digital waters in front of me. Like it was water with information moving through it, like almost like hieroglyphics, but moving like codes. And same thing within the crystals. I was seeing things moving like codes through the crystals, but it was moving like waves, like water, but they were all these giants put into structures, and I'm talking about that I was like an ant looking at huge pyramids, like Giza type, but big, huge pyramids in this realm. It was like a dream state realm that I was in. I figured I was like transported to there in a vision, and I, what I described it was, is I saw them with like, it looked like big ears, like big things over their ears, like Princess Leia or Lady Elche from Ecuador, like these big things on their ear. But I've recently had more things come to me about this. Now, I do feel each one of these ears was these things that were over these ears, these headsets that were over these gray giants, and they looked like they were frozen in like they were screaming, and some of them were like freezing, like stuck there, frozen in pain, like frozen right where they like stuck in suspended animation, almost like they were stuck there, and they were like going through certain things. Some of them looked peaceful, some of them didn't. Some of them looked like they were screaming when they had this, and this, but these things were over their ears. Now, I do feel each one of these things inside, like it can be activated to like what a cherubim is. And they have the left and the right cherubim here, like on top of the Ark of the Covenant, and there are like terminals, and some sort of terminals, like energy terminals, but they're controlling the circuitry of the higher dimensional brain, and they're keeping the knowledge of that higher dimensional brain and that spiritual knowledge and everything within it during that thing's lifetime, maybe, and keeping it still working and still going, even though the body's been shut down in a stasis. And I do feel that I'm onto something with that. They're sort of like cherubim, and if you look into what cherubim are, and I got some things to share with you on this that I have. There's some interesting things that I looked into the Kabbalah that I found going along with this, and this headset even, that I think that I'm onto something with, because I've been talking about this for a long time, that I started researching and trying to find other things that might be similar to this, and things that I've come across, because I do feel like it's keeping a field of energy going in that brain. This headset that I saw on them, and it's and they are sort of like what the cherubim are on the Ark of the Covenant, and it's keeping each side of the brain, the left and the right, in some sort of the knowledge within it still active. Or so when you look at what cherubim are, or keruvim in Hebrew, it's spelled Keruvim, right? They are higher dimensional angelic entities, right? Non-corporeal, and they're basically seen on the Ark of the Covenant. You see the young female and the male, right? They're young people, but they're dualities. They're controlling the different, the positive and negative currents, the left side and the right side. They're controlling the two sides of things. So I do feel that it's controlling the left part of the brain and the right part of the brain, this headset, and then they can turn into spiritual fiery cherubims or cherubims. And this is exactly what Ezekiel saw in his visions as well. That he saw these fiery things, and that's what I think that is going on with these giants, is that it's some sort of technology, and it's some sort of higher dimensional circuitry, and there's a lot of stuff that we need to friggin' really go into to try to understand what we're up against. And these giants I saw, let me remind you, they were 27 to 30 feet tall each. They were huge. So they're something that everybody knows about. And they're using ancient spiritual technology against us, and weaponizing us, and turning ourselves against each other. I've been talking about the obelisks and certain things that I've uncovered while I'm writing my book is truly mind-blowing. And one obelisk that I was talking about was put right on the Piazza del Popolo, right where an ancient walnut tree was, that was basically holding the dark energy of Emperor Nero within it. Emperor Nero was buried under this ancient walnut tree, and the evil dark ones that infested Emperor Nero was locked within this walnut tree, and the walnut tree was planted right on top of it to keep it locked within there. And as long as this walnut tree bloomed and stayed alive, it would lock down this evil of Emperor Nero. Now, I do feel that the walnut tree was losing its potency, and the dark energy started coming out of it. And that's when Pope Paschal II, friggin' in 1099 AD, I've talked about it, cut down this walnut tree and released those dark energies into him, and into the atmosphere as well, probably, but he took on a supernatural transformation. Now on that spot in the Piazza del Popolo, they have an ancient Egyptian obelisk of the sun god Ra. But this was all the way from like 13th century BC. But it was originally for a rod at Heliopolis, but it was hijacked many times, and it ended up becoming the obelisk of Set, the obelisk of evil, and now is being used by the Vatican at the Piazza del Popolo. All right, and I've talked about this. Now, this one of the magnificent. I mean, this is an amazing obelisk. First of all, and it was one of the two which were originally put up by Seti the First, and Seti it took the name of Set or Seth. Seti the First. And this was originally it was right before the Temple of Amun-Ra at Heliopolis, and the center of the column of the hieroglyphics was intended originally to be a remembrance of certain victories, and certain spiritual energies of the race. And when Ramses II took over, and he entered in two other columns of hieroglyphics, and when he did this, and this was Ramses II. When he did this, he put up the Syrian deity Set, and he chiseled Set into this obelisk. And this obelisk now is being used by the Catholic Church. It was originally brought over by Augustus Caesar, I think, or something like that, and removed it to the Circus Maximus at Rome in around 20 BC. And he I think he carved different engravings on it as well. But when this obelisk went through all transitions too. I mean, during the wars and of the Roman wars in the city of Rome, after the empire of the Caesars, basically the obelisk was thrown over, broken into three pieces, stamped on by foot, buried. And this was during the Valentinian reign of about 364 AD. Right around the time where the walnut tree was taken down in Benevento. Now, we know that might have been 662. No, I'm wrong around that. But it was buried and forgotten anyway for a long time. And then in 1590, it was found again, consecrated to the service of the Roman Catholic Church, and they put a cross and a gift ball with the fairy star in it, or the Star of Ishtar in it, to consecrate it to Christianity or to Roman Catholicism. And they put another inscription on it as well, and they've added other, inscriptions on it or whatever. But first of all, the material of this obelisk is of rose granite, red granite. Granite has a high quantity of quartz, especially rose granite, and they are conductors of electricity. They are powering things, all right? They are spiritual transmissions, and they can affect the electricity and the energy in your body and in your aura. And this is one of my main concerns and one of my main topics in my books. And the height of this obelisk, without any base or ornaments on it, is 78 feet 6 inches, right? It's pretty big. Now, the entire height of the monument, after you add the cross and the base, is over 112 feet now. And the hieroglyphics has been translated, and they have all different columns of translations that I have here right in my notes that I'm including in some of my books. Some of these translations, like in the center column on the east side, basically translate to the Horus, the powerful, beloved of justice, King Pharaoh, guardian of justice, approved of the sun, Amun-Mai Ramses. He erected edifices like the stars of heaven. He has made his deeds to resound above the heaven, scattering the rays of the sun, rejoicing over them in this house of millions of years. In the ... year of his majesty, he was made good this edifice of his father, whom he loved, giving stability to his name in the abode of the sun. He who has done this is the son of the sun, Amin Mai Ramses, the beloved of Tum, lord of Heliopolis, giving life forever. Now, these are not just monuments. These are spiritual technologies. Erected edifices like the stars of heaven, made his deeds to resound above the heaven, scattering the rays of the sun, rejoicing over them in this house of millions of years. I mean, do you see what this stuff means? I mean, this is literally not a primitive race carving these interesting poetic things. I mean, these are spiritual transmission devices. And it goes on saying, who has established honor and adorned the temple of the sun and of the rest of the gods, which has been sanctified by him, the son of the sun, the beloved of the spirits of Heliopolis, eternal like the sun. You know, there's all of these. I have all of the translations here of all of the different columns of hieroglyphics on these obelisks, and there's so many of them that go all through the different columns. They have like the west side columns, the south side columns, all these different columns, and the actual translations are truly remarkable. And you know, I mean, it's ridiculous when you go into it, because I do feel like they are broadcasting an end times transmission of the apocalypse. And one of the, before we close, because I'm about to close in a minute, before we go, I want to talk about too that the World Trade Center, this was a ritual done. This was a sacrifice done. And if you look into Revelation in the Bible, you go to Revelation 9:11, like 9/11, and I don't know if anybody's ever said this before. I'm not sure, but what came to me is that 9/11 was specifically chosen on the date 9/11 to coincide with Revelation 9. Revelation 9:1. You know, Revelation 9 verse 1. Here, let me get to it. It's basically Revelation 9 verse 1, paragraph 1. The fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, and the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air was darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And then it goes on. There came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. So they released a darkness in the smoke that are affecting people like locusts, like stinging their minds like scorpions. The dark ones were brought in. More of these dark ones were released out of the pit, out of Abaddon, from Apollo and Abaddon. Now, if you look into further on into this, and you actually go to Revelation 9:11, not Revelation 9 verse 1, because that's when it starts. It starts at Revelation 9 verse 1, paragraph 1, or sentence 1, and it goes all the way to Revelation 9:11. And that says, and they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue, his name is Apollyon, or Apollo. Now, this is very important that you guys understand that, and see that they're giving you messages right there. The bottomless pit has been opened, and we are here to fight it. And it's up to you. It's up to us to take our spiritual technology back. And, you know, I was given messages about Saint Benedict. Now, Saint Benedict, first he killed somebody because the person was trying to poison him. Now, you would think, well, the guy tried to kill him, right? This is a holy man, a monk. Now, I forget what the guy's name is. I have it written down somewhere. Hold on. I have it written down in my notes. I hate looking stuff up on the internet. I do have it. I don't know where it is, but let me find. Oh, here it is. All right. So this is written by Pope Saint Gregory the Great, The Life and Miracles of Saint Benedict. Now, I've been having visions about Saint Benedict for many, many years. So I started to look into some of the things that I've seen and to see what I could find. Now, it clearly states that there was this town leader or whatever he was. Let me see what his name was. Florentinus. I think he was like a king or something. Or let me see what he was. I could look it up. I forget what he was exactly. Oh, so Florentinus was a priest of another church, a nearby church, that had a jealousy or fear of Saint Benedict or some sort of problem with Saint Benedict. So he had Saint Benedict. Let me first explain to you who this guy was. He was a born shaman. Him and his twin sister. And from the things that came to me while researching this guy, is that him and his twin sister were a little bit too close, and they were like attached to each other and even physically attracted to each other. So they felt like they needed to separate and not barely ever see each other unless it was once a year, and they brought others with each other. Like he would go visit her at her monastery, and as long as he brought monks with him, and he was only able to visit for a couple hours and then leave. And this was only once a year. Now, she was known to be able to control the weather, okay? And he was being able to control the elements and interact with animals in an interesting way. He had, and this is a guy like Odin, I mean, or who was it? I think he had like messenger ravens. Ravens would come bring him information, and one raven he would come feed every day and would talk to him. Now, this raven supposedly followed him everywhere, even when he went to Monte Cassino and developed his temples up there. And what did he do when he developed his temples at Monte Cassino? Monte Cassino, where he built his monastery, was the original temple of Apollo and Jupiter. And he went and built an altar to Saint John the Baptist right on the altar to Apollo, and right on the temple of Jupiter. He built his monastery. When he did this, he brought out ancient dark energies from those pagan temples. All right. He consecrated and exorcised them, and he awoke an ancient evil right there. Right. First of all, let me rewind. Before he went and took over that pagan temple, what made him go do that, what gave him that spiritual transformation, is because he crossed a line into a dark area, and he wanted to go to a dark temple now. What he did was this guy, Florentinus, with the priest from nearby, he wanted to kill Saint Benedict. So he sent Saint Benedict a present, a loaf of like a pie or bread or some sort of gift, of food, but it was poisoned. Right? Saint Benedict psychically knew. He had a vision that this was going to happen. So he accepted the loaf, brought it back to his cell, put it on the ledge, and asked his ravens to take it away and go far with it, but not eat it. Now, you would think the bird would just eat it because he's being fed their loaf and die. No, it said that the raven, who would come every day for food from Saint Benedict, he came and took the loaf. 3 hours he was gone. Then he came back for his normal food for the day. So he didn't eat the loaf. He went and got rid of it. Now, Saint Benedict felt that this was going to bring more trouble to his monastery because this guy was trying to poison him. It might bring trouble to his monks. So Saint Benedict thought it would be wise for him to leave that area and go establish his own monastery somewhere and leave where he was. So he left. And Florentinus was happy. He thought he succeeded. Oh, I chased him away. Right when St. Benedict left, Florentinus found out St. Benedict left. He was rejoiced that he chased him away. Then, all of a sudden, Florentinus mysteriously dies, tragically. Now, it's said that that was the punishment for trying to kill St. Benedict. It was literally St. Benedict spiritually brought the death to this guy. Now, coinciding with him killing this Florentinus, he goes and overthrows a pagan temple on Monte Cassino, starts thousands and thousands and hundreds of monasteries, and thousands of people get devoted to his faith now, and his Benedictine, he creates an army of Benedictine monks after he kills this guy, and he throws over the temple of Apollo. He released an evil that he's still cleaning up in the spiritual realms. Exorcisms today are taking place because of what he released when he committed these acts. And Saint Benedict is a very powerful man, but he's cleaning up the mess that he caused, I feel, or he helped cause. And this is powerful information, everybody. Support me in the chat room if you can. Support my radio show at tfrlive.com/Eye of Ra. Support my website, my Patreon for $2 a month to get you in the door, and it's mind-blowing information daily. Patreon.com/The Mystical Spiral. I do readings, everything, guys. So let's join a team together. You help me, I help you. We're in this together. Once again, it's been an amazing transmission. I'm glad you guys came today to check this out. There was reasons why I was getting delayed, and that's because we've been battling these forces, and I've been battling these forces, and you guys know that it's tapping into people as childs. It's making them drones, and it's up to us to keep that spiritual flow going, that energy moving, and we got to keep us alive before we lose who we are. So we'll see you next time, and Spiral out.